Well, joining me now is Professor Suleiman Bogoro, who will expatiate more about what is being done to the rot in the education sector as regards tertiary institutions. Watch. Professor Suleiman Bogoro, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin with this report that TED Fund plans to increase education tax, to make more funds available for tertiary institutions. Is that really true?
I think so. It is our desire that more funds are generated. You
said you think so.
Well, obviously, I know why I'm putting it that way. There are policy imperatives at times like this to reflect what is the position of government. The federal government has plans, and when the education sector briefed Mr. President recently about intentions to deepen interventions for both the two major intervention agencies in the education sector, TED Fund and UBEC, there was a case for raising the tax collection, the revenue from 2% to 4% for both. And why I put it that way is because, yes, the federal government and the ruling party has a position to widen a revenue base for the purpose of more effective and sustainable transformation, improvement of the education sector. And it's not possible to do that if the funds are not adequate. So thinking of raising it from 2 to 4% is logical. The APC as a ruling party holds that position, but it has to be unfolded properly. And for the Education Ministry, when it briefed Mr. President recently, I said that position was recommended to Mr. President strongly. And since he did not object, that is to say, the government is thinking along that line. And for us, operators in the sector, our job is to see that we are in line with the thinking of government. And you better imagine what has been achieved. And if there is more funds, in the case of UBEC, of course, is consolidated revenue. In the case of TED Fund, it is 2% assessable profit tax from registered companies in this country.
And would you say there's gross underfunding in the sector still?
Well, that has been the issue recurrently, and it has refused to go. It's understandable because if you are to provide infrastructure, you are to improve welfare and well-being overall of the actors, the players in the sector. And in that case, you're talking of mainly the teachers and the students. You got to invest money. You need more money. And if you reflect some decades ago, going back to early 90s, and since then it hardly abated until perhaps more recently that we are hoping that we should be seeing less of strike actions, but that persistently, whenever there was strike action by academic staff union of university polytechnics or colleges of education, it all had to do with what was described as gross underfunding and reflecting in non-existent or dilapidated infrastructure, if they existed at all. So it has been the case, and but look at it this way, that government, in its wisdom, embraced the proposal by ASU in 1992. When there was the strike between 1991-92, government signed an agreement to generate tax, 2% profit from tax-paying companies, and as tax, 2% tax for the purpose of education, which they call, is now called the education tax. And even the name Education Tax Fund originally, when the law, it came into law, the establishment of ETF, as it were, in 1993, eventually changed to Education Trust Fund in 1998 when the law was amended. And then until, of course, 2011, when government in its wisdom decided that, look, the funds were too thinly applied across the entire firmament of the education sector. We needed to concentrate on the echelon, the tertiary education, which was the original idea by the academic staff union of universities. And evidently, since 2011, over the last 4 years, there has been manifest impact. You would see it, it's visible. I mean, talking about besides the physical infrastructure, which of course is very evident. You go today in any of the public tertiary institutions, you don't have to be told that for the last 4 years, there has been significant, manifest, evident improvement in infrastructural development, talking about what? Classrooms, offices for staff, laboratories, lecture rooms, even iconic buildings like Senate building and so on. Now it's possible, even for the corporate image of those universities. Besides what we identified as the content components, talking about academic staff training for PhD, MSc, academic staff, both locally and overseas, including Ivy League universities across the world. These are the areas that are used to rank and rate universities globally.